Well, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's now 5:01. I'm David Walter. I'm the vice president, so I will be running the meeting in the absence of our fearless leader, Don Griffith. And with that, first item is roll business. Again, I'm David Walter. Commissioners?
Eric Sandweiss.
Cindy Canarney.
Staff?
Jeff Underwood, Controller Treasurer.
Doris Seals, Hand Director. I don't know who I am today.
Christina Finley, Hand Department.
Larry Allen, Legal.
Okay. Guess that's it. All right, then, first item of business is reading the minutes of February 17th, 2020, and the February 20th, 2020 special meeting. Any corrections or changes to that? If not, I need a motion to accept the minutes.
Are we considering these as a single motion? The
Sure.
2 different minutes? Okay with the lawyer?
Yes.
I'll move approval of the minutes of the 2 meetings, February 17th and February 20th.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Examination claims for February 21st, 2020 for $226,421.24. Any questions about the claims? If not, I need a motion to accept the claims.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Examination of payroll registers for February 14th, 2020. These are staff pay, so are there any questions? If not, I need a motion to accept the payroll registers.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Report of officers and committees, director's report, RDC representative.
So I'm requesting on behalf of Angela Van Roo, and Angela is our neighborhood program manager, for an RDC representative to sit on the Neighborhood Improvement Grant Council for 2020. As you know, our neighborhood improvement grants are grants that we, neighborhood associations or neighborhood affiliates, members of neighborhoods, come in and apply each year. They can be up to $10,000. The application process is currently open, and it will be closing within the next couple of weeks. And then what happens is that the council meets, reviews those applications for funding, and then make recommendations, which will then come back to this commission for final approval. I think last year, I'm just thinking you served on it last year.
I'm a little mixed up myself between this and the
CDBG.
yes, the
Yeah.
CDBG.
But I'm thinking I saw your name when I asked her
But
to.
I think you're right. This
Yes.
is what I
Yes.
served on. last
Yes.
So we need a volunteer.
Yes, please.
What do you say?
year. I'm a little busy. I will do it if neither of you wants.
I'll volunteer.
Oh, thank you,
Okay.
Cindy. I
Good.
appreciate it. So I will have her contact you and give you all the information. But usually it's like a meeting during the daytime to go around and visit the projects, and then one meeting at night. And then it's over with. It's even quicker than the CDBG process. So thank you very much. And that's all I have.
Okay. Legal report, Larry?
I would like to report in the haste of my week last week, a couple of the resolutions on tonight's agenda will have to be pulled just because we didn't end up having final agreement. There were some, not just miscommunications, but some ongoing conversations that I wasn't aware of. So Resolution 2013 and Resolution 2015 will be pulled from the agenda because we don't have finalization of those agreements yet. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have.
Okay. Just remind me later in case I bring these up. All right. Treasurer's report. Jeff?
None at this time.
Okay. You're looking good, Jeff.
Thank you.
CTP update report.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, great. Going to the new business.
We got it coming.
Resolution 20-12, approval of contract for master planner with a name architectural firm.
Yes.
Skidmore, Owens, and Merrill.
Or SOM for short. We utilize the same process that we did for the garages where we had a technical review group. As you'll remember too, we have a larger hospital reuse committee, then we have a executive hospital reuse committee, and then we had a technical review committee for selecting a master planner for the hospital site, which comes back to you for approval, and that's what we're asking tonight. So I'm going to run through a quick little update that we gave the technical review committee, and we'll be giving the hospital committee as well, just to let you know where we're at. Technical review committee, you see the city staff there, external members, Don Griffin and Cindy were both on that, so thank you both. 2 council members, Kate Rosenbarger and Matt Flaherty, and then Mary Ann Valenta with IU Health, and then members of the Browning Group who we're working with to become an owner's rep. We're not quite there yet. We talked to them as a part of this process, and they were very comfortable having us contract directly with a master planner for this project. This started back in November of 2019, where we issued a request for information. Surprisingly, we received responses from 23 different firms, so there was a lot of interest in those in December of 2019. The city staff evaluated responses and narrowed those down to 10 firms in January of 2020. 10 firms were then invited for in-person interviews with the technical review committee on 2 different dates, and kudos for everyone that sat through those. Those were 2 very long days of 5 meetings each day. The technical committee then reviewed their notes and narrowed that list down to 4 firms at the end of January. City staff conducted additional evaluations of the 4 firms, resulting in a recommendation to the mayor of the preferred master planner team. Those were included 1-hour phone conversations with each firm, reference checks, and evaluations of fee proposals from both as well. So we're happy to say that from that, SOM, or Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, was selected. They're one of the most awarded urban design and planning studios. You can see there. This is the team that will be working with us: Doug Voigt, Aaron May, and Rachel Momi. And Aaron will be our project manager on the ground. In addition, one of the key elements that we asked everybody to apply was that we wanted to have some local participation as well. And Mary was selected, and she's a local architect with Kurtwood Architects. Deb Kuntz, whose name may be familiar with you, who is the owner of Core Planning, and they're actually working with us on as owner's rep on the 2 garages. Chris Merritt, landscape design with Merritt Chase. And then you might remember the name Karen Valaquette. She actually was the original project manager for Core, and she left the firm and became a part of Shrewsbury, a minority-owned firm out of Indianapolis with a great reputation. And then finally, Randall Bose with SB Freeman. So one of the big things that we drilled them on is what would be the roles of all these. We didn't want them just throwing people on. We were very happy with the response that we got with a lot of the people, but especially SOM. On every one of these players will have a specific piece of the project moving forward. So they're not there in name only, they're really there to participate in that. So this kind of gives you the an overview of what we're looking at with the City of Bloomington, the project leadership, the teams that will be involved, the Office of the Mayor, the Technical Review Committee, Hospital Reuse Committee, and the Redevelopment Commission, as well as stakeholder groups. I'm just going to go through these fairly quick, and we can run back through these if you want to see it, but these are some of the projects that they presented to us. This was a hospital redevelopment use in Chicago. This was a Greektown neighborhood, and this was in, where was this? Detroit, yeah. They did some extensive work on the Detroit East River front framework, the 78, which is another Chicago project. The rationale that we used to select SOM was project understanding and overall approach, relative experience in comparable projects, similar size and purpose, quality experience of the individual team members, their organization, project management, communications involvement in local firm, public engagement and public process experience, design creativity, and their overall fit with the city as well as cost. SOM received the highest overall ranking from the Technical Review Committee during the in-person review process. Post-interview follow-ups with SOM affirmed the in-person, and their fee proposal was aligned with our scope and estimated budget for the project. And I have to say, they were named on everyone's as the top firm on everybody's sheets. The phases will begin shortly after, assuming you approve tonight. We'll start and run from March through December with discovering confirmation, generating design options, draft master plan, final master plan, and define actions. Thorough analysis of the site context, review existing conditions, study the economic realities for the site, deep collaboration to understand near, medium, and long-term aspirations, examples of similar scale developments, technical rigor, and flexible and compelling approach. So this is kind of the things that will apply to the review project. Again, this just talks about, this was to the Technical Review Committee, so there's a little bit more in here. But anyway, we told them we would be coming to you all tonight for approval, and then targeting kickoff meetings for the week of March 30th, date likely 3/31. Consultant will meet with the Technical Review Committee in the morning. Consultant will host stakeholder meetings in the afternoon, and then they'll meet with the city staff in the afternoon as kind of a wrap-up of that day. Homework that we gave the Technical Review Committee was a review of the stakeholders list that was utilized for the ULI process, and we've asked them to provide us feedback by March the 9th, and we asked them to hold the morning of March 31st on their calendars for this meeting. So, happy to answer any questions as I am able to. The budget that we put was $400,000. They were able to come within that. So that's including reimbursable expenses. So we were quite happy with the fee proposal to go along with their presentation. So we think they'll do an outstanding job for us. 2 of the 5 of you are representative on that committee, and then there'll be at points in time for those of you that have been on where we will come back and give you updates in this process. Obviously, the actual build-out of the project, subject to getting it from the hospital, IU Health, and that will include demolition of the core 12 acres. Other than, we have told them we do want to keep the parking garage, and then we've extended the timeline for us to give them an answer on the core administration. Other than that, everything on the core main campus will be torn down and has to be returned to the RDC in a predetermined fashion. So essentially, it's got to be a clean site. It's possible that some of the outlying buildings will get before that, and if we've got uses for that before then, we obviously would come back to you all for approval on that. So right now, they're working hard to complete the new hospital. Once they do that, then that completes a phase. And then they'll start their demo, and at that point, they'll return it over, and we'll finalize the payments to them. So we've got 3 payments. One, we made a down payment. Secondly, would be at the end of the demolition, and then third one is sometimes during the actual development part of the hospital. So we're excited about this. It was a tough road to get there, but we're happy with the result. Happy to answer questions.
Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead, Sam.
I was just gonna ask the termination language that's in here. Do I understand correctly that either side can terminate it at any time with a notice period of 14 days?
That's correct.
And then all of the work that they would have completed to date would revert back to the city as far as owning that?
That's correct.
Okay.
My question, Jeff, relates, it's a broader one, but I think an important one. One thing that I've heard a lot about over the last year or more that we've been working on this is a sense of, seeking a widespread sense of public commitment and of open ears to not just the stakeholders like us, but people who are neighbors, who who have businesses in the neighborhood and so on. So first of all, in relation to that sense of kind of your understanding of SOM's sensitivity to that issue, the local the local affiliates, the architects and landscape, are you satisfied that you understand what their role is?
Yeah, Mary's going to be helping to be the boots on the ground for the public engagement piece of it. So she'll be the local representative. Obviously, the entire team will be involved in that. But she'll kind of be that local person that, as we go through these steps and have public engagement pieces, in the interim, she'll be so we have a local contact.
So we could count on a familiar face.
A familiar face, that's someone that lives and works in the community and has a good understanding of the sense of Bloomington and Monroe County.
So related to that, I didn't get a good sense from the document that Larry sent today, which was a kind of a more thorough.
It included the exhibits as well. Yeah, I realized that the exhibits were omitted from the original package.
So it includes in great detail what SOM's proposal looks like. I didn't, I just didn't get a deep sense of their public engagement process. That is, of whom they're going to talk to, how they're going to identify them, and so on. Did you on the team get a real sense that they are ready to listen to those many people that still have something to say or still feel like they haven't been heard so far?
And Cindy can chime in as well. We spent considerable amount of time in both the technical review committee interview as well as the follow-up engaged with SOM to talk about that process and how important it was to have a multifaceted community outreach program that gives people the opportunity to have a voice of whatever that voice may be. And we were very satisfied. Mary Catherine Carmichael, who leads the communications division for the city, was there the entire time. She really drilled down into that, and it's really going to be a combination of a number of different ways to gather information. So it's really taking into account people that might work, so they've got night opportunities, people that feel very comfortable submitting things through a computer or a website that they can go on in that way. There will be day sessions. One of the things that really impressed the group that they did, they actually did a little charrette game at the end of one of their presentations where they brought out a board of the map, and they just started going and saying, well, let's say that the community development or the feedback from all this process is this, and they had everything, so they could poop and lay them out so you visually could see what would the site look like, and if they had, they had green for greenways and black for streets, and and I mean it lasted 15 minutes, but I think they probably 3 or 5 different scenarios just of what based on the feedback from the group. You're never going to get 100% agreement, but at the end of the day, what's the best use for the development and the planning of that? So yes, we spent a lot of time drilling in because we know that that's going to be an extremely important piece. We're not leaving it up to them to decide who. We take ownership of that. We collectively, the city, so the RDC, the technical review committee, the hospital reuse group, internal city staff, of a long list, and we handed that out again to both the technical review committee and to SOM to look at. And if you'll recall, when we did the ULI process, I think there was almost 200 different people that were allowed the opportunity that specifically outreach to them of some kind. Some one-on-one, so there's some stakeholders, there'll be one-on-one contacts, some where we bring groups together. We may go out to neighborhood groups when they're having their meetings and utilize that, or ask 2 or 3 of them, say, could you have a joint meeting, and we're going to come and do a presentation and get your feedback on it. So really the ownership of that is on us, because we really know the local community. So we
Yeah.
wouldn't expect any other firm to know exactly. Now, they'll be engaged in how are we going to group them and how we're going to reach out to them in the different aspects. But the idea is to provide as many opportunities for people to be able to participate in a fashion that they feel comfortable with.
Thank you. I'll ask another question if I may. The SOM traditionally has a kind of a reputation as a solid corporate architect, given the city's political investment and hopefully soon financial investment in sustainable development and the work that we're trying to get the public to do to come around to creating greater commitment to that. Was there the sense on the committee's part that these people get that designing a big piece of a city in 2020 isn't quite the same thing as it would have been in their heyday in the 1950s and 60s?
I think go ahead, I'm sorry, not the question.
That was probably the second most talked about element in both the interviews and the follow-up is this green infrastructure development, and that, things are much different today than what they were, and we really felt like they answered that question very well and have elements of their team that work on just those aspects of that's looking at how can we make this a very sustainable, how can we lower the climate impact of these things, and it's not your typical lay out a block and build it in the sewers and all these things. It's really looking at a lot of mixture of different ideas on development type, as well as now how do we make that so that the climate impact long term is minimized, and we have really the state of the art development, and they did a very good job. Not just them, but a lot of the firms. The firms that are doing a lot of these kind of master planning or master redevelopment, everybody is requiring that as a part of those, and they've really upped their game in that fashion.
I have to say that I think this firm in particular, the big piece that resonated with me and many others on the committee was really that community engagement piece. So their ability to listen to what the community wants, and that's certainly an aspect that I think the community is going to convey loud and clear and we spent a lot of time talking about that. That was a big part of the decision matrix. Certainly a big part of why I felt that they were really right for the job. So I think they're very impressive, and I think that they've got a lot of different ways to cast the widest net, to get as much feedback and as many different formats as possible to make sure that as many people that want a voice have a voice.
Thanks.
Other comments, questions?
Just one other thing on page 5, and I think that it's just a typo. Under indemnification, last paragraph, this agreement shall in no event exceed 1.000, comma 000. I'm guessing that point should be a comma.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying $1. Points and commas make a difference in numbers, right?
Yes, yes, they do. And the number of places to the left and to the right
Yeah,
of the decimal
exactly.
point.
Numbers stand out to me.
So again, the resolution is to approve the contract. Says its cost is $410,000, including reimbursables. And attachments included a schedule, and they're to be starting at the end of the month. Okay? That's my basic understanding of what's going on here, and if there's no other questions, I'll need a motion to accept this resolution.
Move approval of resolution 2012, approval of contract for master planning.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we skip resolution 2013, correct? So we'll go talk about Duke Energy with resolution 2014.
This resolution's about an easement in the Trades District lot that was necessitated by the construction of the Trades District garage. So originally on the site where the Trades District garage is being placed or was selected by this entity and others for the placement of that garage, Duke Energy had an easement that existed already for a transmission line. Because we're gonna put a big honking garage there, not a bad thing, but put a garage there, they had to move their transmission line. This is a new easement, just recognizing the movement of that line. It'll go farther south in that lot, which is still gonna cut across RDC property.
How does it affect our other plans, if at all?
I don't think, not for the lot. I mean, there will be some refinishing work. Duke will obviously have access to that. So if something goes wrong with the line, Duke has to have access to that property, of course, you know, so there might be unforeseen digging in the lot that we'll have to work with them to get repaired, but that's pretty standard on these kind of easements, yeah.
Any questions, comments? Then I'll need a motion. I forgot to ask on the last one if we had any public comment, and I guess,
You can ask now.
yeah, I can ask public comment on Duke easement. Okay, then I need a motion.
I move approval of resolution 20-14 Duke Energy easement.
My second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. And we're not ready with the parking lease, so we move to 2016. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I do apologize for the confusion of removing some things from the agenda. That's completely on me. For 2016, the extension of the BCTM agreement, you all had extended this agreement from last year once as we had some ongoing negotiations. The BCTM, one of the reasons why we had kind of an extended timeline for these negotiations is their executive director had stepped down. In the meantime, they've since hired a new executive director, and their interim executive director will be stepping down in the middle of March, and so there's going to be a transition period, so that's one of the factors here. There's also some new language that we're trying to work out in this agreement that hasn't been there in years past, and that we're just kind of working out and trying to take our time and carefully making sure that this works for everybody. So we thought it was best to not hastily rush it before all the staff is in place for the BCTM, and to agree on the new language. So this would extend it out to just to April 1st. You'll see the agreement. I think you'll see it the next meeting. We're very close to finishing a final version. It's just, this gives us ample time to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's.
Any funding issues?
No funding issues, so this doesn't add any additional funding. In fact, for the funding that was approved by the RDC last year, the BCTM did not end up using all of that funding last year, so there is some reserves. Typically, though, this funding, there's a set amount from council of what's dispersed to the BCTM, so we don't think that there's gonna be an increase in funding at all for this next year, and there hasn't been a problem so far. But this extension does not include additional funding for the moment.
So this is truly simply to make sure that the status quo ante remains in place while negotiations for a further agreement that we will then have an opportunity to review
Yes.
take place?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that gonna be enough time, April 1st?
Yeah, when I say we're close, I genuinely mean we're close. I don't mean we're
Okay.
close and there's 5 paragraphs to go. I mean, we're kind of on the last section where we're all kind of in agreement in principle of getting there. It's just, because it's new, we want to make sure everybody's comfortable with it. And like I said, the new staff will want to have a chance just to get them acclimated.
The director is here and on the ground.
Not yet. I believe the director starts on, let me look at my calendar here. I believe the director starts the 16th of March, the new director. And then the interim director will be leaving the organization, I think, on the 23rd, or roughly a week after that. So there's going to be a little bit of overlap between the interim and the new director, but not much. So
I'm sure the board's been involved in these negotiations and discussions, so there'll be some continuity of information.
That's exactly right, yeah. So there have been board members who are very active, as always, with the BCT, are very active in looking after their interest, and will pass off that information. We just want to make sure everybody's on board.
Okay, no further comments? Comments from the public?
No further public.
Okay. Need a motion.
I move approval of extension of the agreement with the BCTM.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, then business and general discussion, I believe, is the only thing left. Do we have anything? If not, we can
From this end
adjourn.
of the table.
Oh,
Well, yes, I should have given you updates. We go March the 9th to the Plan Commission for the facade change on Trades District that we talked to you about, and for the redesign on the 4th Street to garage to build on the current footprint. So we should have more information for you on that. We don't believe there'll be anything on the Trades District, but there's some waivers that we're requesting, height and some other things on the 4th Street. So we'll be able to report back to you on how that went. And if you circle out that way, you can see what little progress we've been getting done on the Trades District. Basically, right now, they're excavating. There was a little bit of contaminated soil that's going to the proper landfill, and then the rest is reusable. So we'll be taking that down to Winston Thomas, the old plant site down there as a store, and then we're looking for ways to reuse that dirt in other places, including Switchyard Park. But other than that, things are going well.
So the proposal we'll present to Plan Commission next week will be for the reduced footprint, but with
Higher.
an enhanced height that would
Yes.
allow for what, essentially the same overall
Essentially the same. I
capacity?
believe we actually gain a few more spots with that, just because of the way the design works. You end up with a half floor on the top, just the way parking garages work out, so,
But the legal activity remains in process?
yes. And the design does allow that it can be expanded,
Horizontally?
yes.
Okay.
anything else? If not, we can be adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Good job.